Hello and welcome, I'm Sonicguru and this is the Summer of Sonic Team 2018. This year we celebrate the top 30 Sonic characters. Before we start, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who took part and made this series possible. From those who voted to the various contributors. This was a great project to work on and I hope everyone will be happy with what's to come. Also, if your favourite character is not on the list or as high as you think they should be, I can only apologise in advance and say that it's not my fault. This was an open vote to the community and the results speak for themselves. You have only yourselves to blame. So without further ado, let's begin the Summer of Sonic Team Top 30 Characters. Number 30. Wave the Swallow. Second in command and the head technician of the Babylon Rogues. First appeared in Sonic Riders, Wave is the brains as well as the voice of reason when it comes to Jet's immaturity and Storm's lack of sense. Because of her knowledge, Wave is brimming with self-confidence and very arrogant about her expertise in extreme gear, certain that no one can match her in this field and holds very high standards for how extreme gear should be. She never hesitates to dismiss others' extreme gear as junk, especially when Tails, Team Sonic's technician, is able to craft a gear almost as good as hers. She takes great pride in her skills and becomes irate when someone insults or blames her work for their own failures. She makes it very clear she has very little patience for stupid people. When it comes to accomplishing her team's goals, Wave is perfectly willing to cheat in official competitions, such as sabotage in Sonic's Extreme Gear and Sonic Riders, and even without Jet knowing it. Likewise, she will gladly take whatever beneficial chance that might present itself, such as taking the key to Babylon Garden on behalf of Jet when Sonic returned it despite Jet refusing to accept it. As far as her backstory, all three of the rogues are similar in that they are the latest descendants of the infamous rogues of years past, as well as the ancient Babylonians, an alien race that stranded on Earth in ancient times and became a legendary band of thieves in which they continued their legacy of thieving for generations. I must say, I like how compared to Jet and Storm, Wave's design is unique, aside from the flame tattoos on the rounds which seems to be a uniform look of the Babylon rogues. Her attire does shout extreme 90s and early 2000s with her white bandana and feather-like two-top. Plus, I can relate to her, especially when explaining something you're passionate about to an outsider and they just stare back at you like a deer in headlights. To be honest, out of the three Babylon rogues, I didn't expect Wave to make the list. But I'm glad she did though, because out of all three of the bird characters, Wave is my favourite, and not because her species is my last name. Well, not entirely anyway.
Number 29. Shade the Echidna. Shade was a character exclusive to Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood on the Nintendo DS, making her first and only appearance in said game, a battle-hardened warriorette and an elite member of the Nocturnus clan's military force, having been imprisoned in the Twilight Cage in ancient times along with the rest of her highly advanced cyberized race. She temporarily infiltrated her former homeworld 4,000 years later, following orders from Imperator Ix to secure the Chaos Emeralds and capture Knuckles the Echidna, only to rebel against her leader upon realizing his true plan to not only return home, but to conquer the planet as well, among other warmongering ambitions, subsequently joining Sonic and Company from there on out. In my opinion, Shade as a character holds up as one of the more underrated ones in the Sonic lineup. Her lethal arsenal is one of the most noteworthy details about her. The various pieces of Nocturnus high-tech gadgetry are some of the coolest I've seen in Sonic lore. Just to name a few, her warp belt, allowing her to temporarily phase out of the Twilight Cage and into Sonic's realm, and let's not forget my personal favourite, the Leech Blades. Two energy daggers materialized from her wristbands, not only used for carving up the opposition, but also allowing Shade to siphon the life energy from her target to restore her own vitality. Hence the term leech or leeching. Also, fun fact, a modified cyan variant of the Leech Blades are also used by the post-Super Genesis Wave version of Sally Acorn in the now defunct Sonic Archie comics. Shade's overall design is really sleek and, dare I say in a Sonic game, original. Her armor especially, laced with, if you'll pardon the pun, shades of strong magenta, and the look and shape giving off vibes of some kind of neo-noir sci-fi espionage type femme fatale, which in essence is what her entire character is about. That helmet of hers I always found particularly badass. I always wondered how exactly that headdress is donned. Is it like a motorcycle helmet, for instance, where she physically takes it on and off of her head? Or perhaps something a bit more fancy? Anyone remember the 1998 Lost in Space remake? No, not the Netflix show, the 1998 movie. Remember when Matt LeBlanc's character put that metallic helmet on and it seemed to open down his face one slate at a time? Well, that's what I like to imagine Shade's helmet being like when she puts it on. She just pushes a button on her armlet and then from her headband it goes right down and over her face. Or maybe something like this. Look at this gif from Nibrock Rock. The way the helmet just materializes like some Nocturnus bleeding edge suit. To summarize, I like Shade because she encompasses the mystery and intrigue of what the Nocturnus clan stood for. And honestly, I wish we could see more of an expansion on her and her people in a future Sonic title. But sadly, after the whole Penders ordeal, it's unlikely we'll ever see Shade make an appearance again. Oh well.
Number 28. Cosmo the Cedrian. Who would have thought a plant could be a Sonic character? We have echidnas, bats, chameleons, and even bees, but a plant? Okay. Cosmo heralds from space, whose homeworld was destroyed by the Metarex, who, in the years that followed, left Cosmo as the sole survivor of her kind. To thwart the Metarex ambitions for universal dominance, Cosmo joined Sonic the Hedgehog and his allies in the war against the Metarex, eventually becoming a love interest for Tails. In the end, however, Cosmo sacrificed herself by fusing herself with the Dark Oak planet to make it weaker so that Tails, Supersonic, and Super Shadow could destroy it and save the universe. At first, Tails refused to, but Cosmo convinced him that was the only way to save the galaxy. Tails trusted Cosmo and ended up shooting her with the Sonic Power Cannon, while yelling that he loved her, causing her to be killed in the process. According to the Japanese version of Sonic X, in an attempt to rescue Cosmo from death, Supersonic and Super Shadow used Chaos Regeneration, but all they managed to produce was a small seed. Sonic arrived back on board a Blue Typhoon. He handed the seed to Tails, who collapsed with grief as he realized that Sonic was unable to save Cosmo. Like Cream, Cosmo is kind and gentle, though she often feels guilty because she was unable to save anyone from her home planet ever since the destruction by the Metarex. She also seems to suffer from low self-esteem and can be somewhat clumsy. As far as original characters exclusive to cartoons go, Cosmo is a major step up from Chris Thorndike, who was just a surrogate for the audience. Cosmo had an arc spanning the entirety of Season 3, about courage, love, and sacrifice, and produced one of the most saddest moments in Sonic's animated history. Number 27. Vanilla the Rabbit, parental role model and mother of Cream the Rabbit. Truth be told, I've been scratching my head as to why this character even made it into the top 30. Only appearing in 3 game titles, as well as a minor character in the latter half of Season 2 and Season 3 of Sonic X. What is it about Vanilla that made fans warm up to her? I think it's because she's the only canonical parent in the entire series. Not counting the various parents in the comics and cartoon shows, Vanilla's mere existence proves that these characters do in fact have a heritage. Except for Shadow. Kind of. Like her daughter, Vanilla is polite and kind to others, and always ready to help those in need. Apparently having strong faith in Cream and her friends, Vanilla is not bothered in the least by how Cream goes out on dangerous adventures with Sonic and his friends. However, she does prefer a quiet lifestyle, and she's been known to get somewhat frazzled by Sonic and his friends' adventurous ways. I would too if my child went on a potentially life-threatening quest to save the world from an evil scientist. Personally, I feel that Vanilla is underutilized as a character. Outside of the rare few mentions, this motherly rabbit is nowhere to be seen, and I feel like it's a missed opportunity. Why can't we visit her from time to time for new skills and extra lives? Forget Omochao, Vanilla is the one I want giving me my 1-ups and extended boost. Also, over tea and biscuits, she can offer words of wisdom like a real mother would. Vanilla is a mom you don't want to let down. Even turning down an offer for a simple cup of tea feels like you're disappointing her. And I don't even like tea. Number 26. The Tails doll. Why? This freaky contraption first appeared in Sonic R for the Sega Saturn. The doll is a crude imitation of the real Tails, powered by a machine in its head with an extruding red jeweled antenna. Manufactured by Eggman, It is a mere stuffed animal whose meagre form exhibits considerable ability in races due to its lightweight design. It later managed to sneak its way into the Archie Sonic comics as Project Deadly Cuddles, when Cream takes it under her wing before catching on to its mysterious disappearances and confronted it with the help of the Freedom Fighters, only for it to transform into a giant bio-lizard-like monster. In the real world, the Tails doll is infamous among Sonic fans and spawned one of the first creepypastas known as the Tails doll Cursed. Can't run, can't hide, it will find you, haunt you, and eventually kill you. At least Marine the Raccoon is able to keep him in check. Number 25. E102 Gamma. Who would have thought that in Sonic's first major story-driven game, Gamma was the one we would all shed a tear over? Not Tails's, not Knuckles', or Amy's, but Gamma's. A robot with a heart of gold. Developed by Eggman, Gamma was the latest in his new series of E100 robots, tasked with finding and securing Froggy as well as the Flicky Amy was protecting. Gamma later gained his own sentience when he learned of friendship from Amy and turned on his creator. He then assumed his own mission to free his robot brethren from Eggman and succeeded, though at the cost of his own life after his battle with a revamped model of his older brother, E101 Beta. In the final scene before it fades to black, we see both Gamma and Beta at Flicky, who we later see in Amy's ending as the parents of the young blue Flicky. What makes Gamma's story so good is that we see it from start to finish. His whole life is depicted on screen and is arguably one of the most developed characters in the entire series. From his obedient and militaristic start, to his personal mission to save his brethren from Eggman's control, to his final steps once his mission was accomplished. True, his stages were clunky and that damn timer was a pain in the ass. But the novelty of playing as one of Eggman's elite was a breath of fresh air. Despite Gamma's betrayal, Eggman continued to build robots based on the E102 model, as seen in Sonic vs. 2 and Sonic Battle. Though not as sympathetic, at least we still have Omega.
Whenever we hear the news of another side character being added to the ever-expansive Sonic roster, the reaction from most folks tends to be the same. However, with Styx the Badger, the complete reversal happened instead. Here's the thing, considering her introduction to the Boom series was kind of a bit of an odd one, seeing how she was just there in Rise of the Lyric, and then she was a playable character in Shadow Crystals, because Amy was being brainwashed and captured for most of that game anyway, only for the comics and the TV shows to really show off what she's really like. It's kind of baffling when you think about it. Now on paper, the idea of a thoroughbred creature with delusions of paranoia could have easily ended up as a really tiresome one-note joke, but that's the beauty of Styx, is that she's way more than that. For starters, she is a surprisingly very capable person, endlessly resourceful, in tune with nature, incredible survival skills, a trained warrior, a loyal friend, and more than one occasion where she saved both the gang and the islanders. Above all else, she's just so incredibly likable. She also has some of the funniest lines throughout the entire Sonic series. Having said that, by no means am I saying she's going to be everybody's favourite perfect character, but for me and so many others out there, she has quickly become one of our favourites anyway. She's that needed wildcard that the series has been lacking for a while, and having said that, it seems that Sega and Sonic Team have also agreed with that. Maybe even making that leap into the main game series itself, though we all kinda know how she'll react to that.
She seems nice.
Number 23. Mighty the Armadillo. Look who's making a comeback! First appeared in the Sega Sonic arcade game along with Raider Flying Squirrel and Sonic the Hedgehog, they were captured by Robotnik and set to be executed before escaping and setting out to confront him. Unfortunately, Robotnik set the island self-destruct and the trio managed to escape. Later, Mighty would return in Knuckles Chaotix. Soon after exploring the mysterious island, he was captured and placed in Eggman's Combi Catcher, before being saved by Knuckles. He and the rest of the Chaotix crew set out to stop Robotnik and Metal Sonic from using the island's dark rings. Ever since Chaotix, we haven't seen this armadillo in any game until the recent update to Sonic Mania Plus, who, along with Ray, would be new playable characters. In the intervening time, Mighty will be fleshed out in Archie Sonic comics, who shared a mirror relationship with Sonic and Tails, seeing Ray as a little brother. They would travel the world seeking his little sister Matilda, who was roboticized at a young age and thought to be dead. Mighty is described as a gentle pacifist who detests violence and roughness. However, he is willing to use his overwhelming strength and fighting abilities when there's trouble afoot and when there's no other option. With the release of Mania Plus, let's hope we see Mighty make more impacts in the future and take his first step into the modern series.
Rouge the Bat, the gem-obsessed treasure hunter, the femme fatale gun agent, and many a fanboy's first fictional crush. Originally known as Nails, Rouge the Bat was first introduced in Sonic Adventure 2 as a rival to Knuckles and forever a part of Team Dark. While mainly noted and recognized for a rather voluptuous figure, Rouge's history is unknown beyond her skills as an expert thief in the night and a connoisseur of jewels, particularly the Chaos Emeralds. Due to her skills, she found herself working as a double agent for guardian units of nations in order to keep a close eye on Eggman, as well as what his grandfather, Gerald Robotnik, kept from them before his execution, namely Project Shadow. Since then, Rouge has been on many more missions for Gun or of personal interest, such as the elusive Master Emerald, which she has tried and failed to steal from its guardian on several occasions. This doesn't make her shallow though. She is smart, sassy, and seductive, and knows how to get what she wants. You see, unlike Amy, Rouge wasn't your typical damsel in distress or obvious love interest like many other female characters in gaming. She's independent, knows what she is capable of, and uses that to her advantage. The closest character to her in recent years is Bayonetta. True, Bayonetta is a human witch with guns and uses her womanly wiles to get what she wants, but she is always in control of the situation and never a step behind. Rouge is the same in that respect. Once she has a target in mind, she goes for it, regardless of the cost. Even if it means she has to be away from her precious jewels for another day. Besides, who else but Rouge can put Knuckles in his place and match his abilities? Nevertheless, she is loyal to her closest friends and has more than once helped Sonic the Hedgehog and his allies save the world.
Number 20, Infinite. Now, I can understand why people like Infinite. There's a lot to like about him. He's menacing looking, he has a great design based off of Shadow's concept Terios, he has a mysterious power, he can warp reality, he has a lot going for him. He's actually killed other Sonic characters, he's sadistic, he plays mind games. He's a really good villain in theory, but then when you actually see him throughout the game, his boss fights are pathetic, his actions are confusing, he constantly underestimates everyone, he has no idea what's going on, and most of all, he's just weak, in both spirit and strength. He did all of this just to prove Shadow that he's worthy, and I think that's kinda pathetic. Like, it's an interesting concept that Shadow defeated his Jekyll squad, and now he's went from being a mercenary to being Eggman's right-hand man / pawn. And I really feel like they could work with this and they can improve him in later games. But right now, I've already seen his character done better with Shadow the Hedgehog, and unfortunately, he's just a pale imitation of the former.
Number 20. Emeril. I'm just gonna get this out the way now. I say Emeril, but some people say Emeril or ML, and for me, the name Emeril being derived from the term emerald, I just naturally say Emeril, so, you know, that's just the way I say it. I don't know if there's any confirmation on the name pronunciation, but anyway. I love robot characters in Sonic, seriously, but none do I love more than my beloved Emeril. I could sing to high heaven, never-endingly about him. People familiar with me and my channel have surely heard me bring up this character on more than one occasion. He is, in my opinion, extremely, almost criminally underrated in the Sonic community, and should be higher on this list, damn it. For a brief history, Emeril made his first and only appearance in the widely forgotten Sonic battle for the GBA between Advance 2 and 3. Emeril was the game's staple character, besides Sonic himself. He was also featured, however, in a minor story arc in the Sonic X anime. But that adaptation absolutely, abhorrently butchered Emeril to high hell. A martial arts tournament? Cream being the one to defeat him by kicking him into a river? This story blows. Sonic X's portrayal was less than satisfactory, to say the least, and thus I'm going to avoid talking about that representation as much as possible. As for the game version of Emeril, boy, where do I begin? Once I start talking about him, I rarely cease to shut up. We could be here all day at this rate. But what do I like about him? Oh, I don't know. How about the fact that he was manufactured 4,000 years ago as part of the Nocturnus clan's battle droid squad, the Gizoid, super elite robots intended to be used as weapons of war against the Knuckles clan, Emeril being the most powerful model next to his two brothers, Scylla and Charib, seen in Sonic Chronicles. The word Gizoid in ancient Nocturian dialect means everything. The word everything, of course, in reference to the Gizoid's ability to continuously adapt to any combat situation by copying or assimilating the physical data of others. And not like Metal Sonic's copy ability, no. Metal Sonic only copied the statistical battle data of Sonic and friends. No, Emeril can alter his own body to attain the actual physiology of anyone else he's seen fight, replicating their powers, even down to mimicking the way they move. If he sees Sonic's super speed, he can have super speed. If he sees Tails' intellect, he can have that intellect. If he sees Knuckles' strength, he gets that strength. Shadow's chaos control, Rouge's fighting skill, even Chaos's moves. Yes, Emeril can copy the morphology of the god of destruction, the creature that single-handedly near wiped out an entire race just by looking at him. Imagine what would happen if Emeril met Silver, Blaze, or Mephiles, or any character seen in the story to date. Towards the end of Sonic Battle, Emeril had accumulated so much power that he could single-handedly, effortlessly take on Sonic and Shadow at the same time. And by the game's finale, Emeril had the combined aptness of all of the Sonic heroes, and when he went out of control, it took Sonic everything he had to even momentarily pause the Gizoid's rampage, making Emeril, in my opinion, one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful character in Sonic history. Even Dr. Gerald Robotnik took an interest in Emeril's untapped supremacy, having discovered him and going as far as to bring the seemingly dainty Gizoid aboard the Ark for a while in an attempt to study the ancient marvel of science and remove the vicious nature the Nocturnus had imprinted upon him. But before the good doctor could fully reprogram him, Emeril went wild, destroying a large portion of the Ark and vanishing. This incident is what indirectly led to GUN storming the Ark, leading to the death of Maria, the imprisonment and death of Gerald, and the capture of Project Shadow. The lore is rich here. In the beginning of battle, Emeril was void of any and all emotion, but soon progressing into that of a childlike nature, or something more akin to a newborn baby, progressively learning more and more through his experiences with Sonic and company, even down to mimicking the things that they say, like some Sonic variant of Neil Blomkamp's Chappie. Through the course of the game, we, the player, got to experience Emeril's growth every step of the way, and it truly felt like we were witnessing the maturation of life. It made Emeril likable and easier to distinguish and stand out among the rest of the characters, and I, for one, quickly welcomed him into the grand roster of existing characters with open arms. And I still regard his writing in Sonic Battle as one of the best pieces of characterization in Sonic games as a whole. By the end of the game, Emeril had attained a wisecracking, intuitive, yet ever so innocent personality of his own. Having been taught everything he needed, Emeril gained character independence and could stand on his own as a member of the team, which made what was to come even more tragic. To top this entry to the list off, Emeril gave rise to one of the most unforgettable, powerful moments in Sonic story to date. This, for me, takes the cake on being the most saddest moment in Sonic, with Gamma's death in SA1 being a close second. I am of course referring to Emeril's final moments in Sonic Battle. Having been reverted back to his original ruthless programming by Dr. Eggman, Emeril set about destroying the Earth. Sonic arrived just in the nick of time and reluctantly engaged his former friend in battle. Following this clash with Sonic, Emeril experienced a state of extreme inner turmoil as his body and mind began to malfunction. His memories muddled together, and in his confusion, he spouted many random words and phrases. Most were erratic, but some of them were clear as crystal, and these words, man, these words broke my heart playing this game as a kid. As he convulses, he says, "Sonic, the pain," shortly followed by, Am I going to die? The feels, man! Emeril's kind personality then manages to slip back through as Sonic calls out his name. He takes control of his body for only brief moments, and in those moments, he says thank you to Sonic and laments on leaving behind all the people he's come to love. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, everyone, even commenting that he doesn't want Cream to be sad when he's gone. Astoundingly, now this is the weird part, astoundingly, despite what Emeril knows, what we all know is going to happen, Sonic himself, despite remaining cool in the face of mortal danger time and time again, experiences a period of genuine denial, completely rejecting the actuality of the situation staring him in the face and the inevitability of what's to come, telling his robotic friend that everything's going to be okay and that they're going to go home and have fun. Emeril issues his final farewell as Sonic cries out to him, The screen fades to white, and in that flash of light, Emeril is gone. Shadow explains the occurrence as Gerald Robotnik's final safety protocol. Should Emeril go too out of control, the Gizoid would destroy itself. The memory of Emeril lived on in Gemeril, Dr. Eggman's recreation of a Gizoid using data he had on Emeril. And yes, it's pronounced Gemeril, not Gemeril. I confirmed this on the official old Sonic Advance 3 Japanese website. Translated from kanji, his name enunciated is Gemaru. I mean, you know, gem, emerald, Gemerald, it makes sense. Come on. Emeril, though significantly less powerful than his robotic cousin, was still formidable and served as a main story element of his first and only game, Sonic Advance 3. This antagonistic replica, like all of Eggman's more powerful mechs, eventually went rogue and was ultimately defeated by Sonic and Eggman together, being then reprogrammed as a peacekeeping robot by Tails and eventually living alongside Cream and her mother Vanilla, and was never seen or mentioned again. Thanks, Sega. To close this, Emeril was such a rare privilege in Sonic storytelling, such a vast well of lore, good character dev, and humor all rolled into one cute little battlebot, and in a way, as much as I want Emeril to come back, subconsciously, I kind of don't want him to. I feel like the story woven in Sonic Battle did him great justice, and many applause to the writers for that wonder. But while there's room for a return, I know, in all likelihood, Sonic games today would probably only sour the otherwise exceptional character in some form or fashion, and eventually he'd fall into underutilization as another sidelined seat warmer. So no, keep Emeril dead. For all intensive purposes, let the little guy rest, Sega. Mania got mighty and Ray, so you know what? If you're gonna bring someone back for the modern series next, do Gemeril. Let him stand as the legacy of this great, great robotic hero.
Vector the Crocodile, the leader and brawn of the Chaotic Detective Agency. While first being introduced in Knuckles Chaotix on the Sega 32X, Vector was originally conceptualized as part of Sonic's band in the original game before being scrapped and revitalized in the only worthwhile title for Sega's second failed add-on. In Chaotix, Vector was a jamming croc who came to the mysteriously appearing island because he saw its arrival as an act of God. No joke. That's what's written in the Japanese manual. Before getting captured by Robotnik and put into his Kombi catcher. Like with Mighty and Charmy, he was rescued by Knuckles and helped him to stop Robotnik and Metal Sonic. It would be some time before his and subsequently Espio and Charmy's return to the modern series in Sonic Heroes as Team Chaotix. In their story, they take on the client who tests them to make sure that they're worth hiring. As it turns out, the client is none other than Dr. Eggman, who was betrayed by a vengeance-fueled Metal Sonic. With everyone else, the Chaotix help out in defeating the Metal Sonic Overlord. From then on, as well as the Chaotix crew, take on various tasks as well as defending the citizens from Eggman's forces. Though large and imposing, he has got a kind heart beneath his scaly exterior. Vector is always and ready to take jobs that pay good money, but is also always willing to help those in need for free, leaving his agency in its eternally poor state. Vector defiantly does not fit the bill as a suitable detective, but he gets the job done. While a bumbling, loud-mouthed, bossy show-off, his easygoing and kind nature proves he is a gentle giant, with a big heart and worth hiring.
Number 18 is Mephiles. Now Mephiles is a Sonic villain done right. We get introduced to him right at the beginning of Silver's story, and right away he tries to play him off as if he's Silver's ally trying to help the future. But in reality, he's manipulating everyone from Silver to Blaze to Shadow into achieving his perfect form, which is Solaris. I really love how cunning he is, how manipulative he is, and just how overall powerful he is. He can create multiple clones of himself with little to no effort. He can teleport, he can time travel. He really isn't the man you want to mess with, and he can say one thing that no other Sonic villain can. He's actually killed Sonic the Hedgehog. They had to use the Chaos Emeralds to revive him, but Mephiles 100% killed Sonic the Hedgehog.
Number 17. Nicole the HoloLynx. Originally a voice in a compact computer, Nicole became more than that in the anti-Sonic comics. She became more self-aware and constructed a physical hologrammatic body. In the pre-Super Genesis wave continuity, Nicole was originally sent back in time from a possible future by Queen Sally. After aiding Sally in a few missions against Robotnik, Nicole quickly became one of Sally's closest and most reliable friends. It would be some time later when an incident caused Sally and Nicole to swap minds. Nicole experienced what living was like and wanted to feel more of it after returning to their own bodies. This resulted in a new Link spawn, discovered by Sally, who wanted her to remain in this form, but was told it took a lot of power. It wouldn't remain that way forever though, as the nanite city dubbed New Mobotropolis allowed her to stay in a Link's form indefinitely. This proved to have a weakness when the Iron Dominion invaded and transformed her into Iron Nicole and legionized its citizens. Luckily, Sally helped her regain control and later thwarted the Iron Queen. Hers and subsequently the rest of the Freedom Fighters' history would change following the Super Genesis wave. Now designed by Dr. Elodie, who hoped to digitize the consciousness of his dying daughter Nikki, was entrusted to Sally Acorn as a portable handheld computer, and has since become both Sally's loyal friend and trusted member of the Freedom Fighters. For the early part of her existence, Nicole spent time with the Freedom Fighters without being able to see the world as they saw it. After Sally fled to Knothole, taking Nicole with her, she eventually manifested a hologrammatic form to Sally and demonstrated the first signs of real emotion by expressing a desire to see the stars. Ever since manifesting her own physical form, Nicole has become more lifelike. Her friends and closest allies see her as a being and not as a collection of ones and zeros. And if being a Mobian wasn't enough, she also has a super form of her own dubbed Overclock Nicole, powered by a red ring. Like other robots like Emeril and Gamma, who stand tall in overcoming who they once were, the once logical and emotionless Nicole has evolved beyond her own capabilities, changing into something better and with a new perspective on the world around her.
Number 16. Sonic the Werehog. Now admit it, we all winced at the idea of the Werehog prior to Sonic Unleashed's release. You have to admit, the idea is completely ludicrous. I still remember that initial teaser trailer, the one with Sonic twiddling around with the ring, followed by the Werehog's claw smashing it against the wall. First reactions went a little something like, "Oh yeah, new Sonic game, can't be any worse than 06 and Secret Rings, right?" Followed by, oh. Now, thankfully, Sonic Unleashed went on to receive mostly positive to mixed reviews and still lives on as one of my personal favourite modern Sonic games to date. But the Werehog has always been something of a mixed bag. It's like Marmite, some people hate it, some people don't. And really, I think a lot of the flack the Werehog receives stems from the player's first experiences of him in Unleashed. The trailers for the game built up the prospect of leaping through moonlit streets, bounding across rooftops and into the night, and what we got was a very basic room-by-room beat-em-up game with minor elements of puzzle solving mixed in. Rinse and repeat. Yes, sadly the Werehog's gameplay was easily one of the lower points of an otherwise superb game, as far as 3D Sonic games go anyway. But if you liked that gameplay style, that's fine, more power to you. Just for me, it didn't hit any sweet spots. However, as a character, and you'll hear me say this a lot, just like with Shade, but as a character, the Werehog was an interesting dynamic. Sonic the Werehog is savage, displaying such a rabid sense of viciousness that it's hard to believe we're still looking at good old carefree, happy-go-lucky Sonic. I made a theory video a year or two back over on the Sonic Show channel that delved into the idea of a darker side to Sonic's personality, and I referenced the Werehog. Even briefly touched upon the form in my 2017 Q&A video when Dark Sonic was brought up in question. And while some might shun the idea of such an angsty spin on a character such as Sonic, I, for one, completely welcome the idea. Simply because it had never been done before. Seeing my beloved childhood character in such a state made me go, damn dude, but in a good way. The Werehog annihilates opposition with his raw strength maybe even rivaling that of Knuckles the Echidna. Coupled with the addition of his stretchy, elasticated arms, some really flashy, really devastating damage is dished out to whatever poor sap is on the receiving end of these blows. Fun fact, by the way, I didn't even realize this myself up until recently. For years, I was confused as to why Werehog even had stretchy extremities to begin with, but upon playing the game again, I actually realized that Werehog Sonic is actually a mimicry of a Dark Gaia spawn. The Dark Guardian can stretch its arms too, as well as several other Dark Gaia creatures. So wait, if the Dark Guardian is the attendant of Dark Gaia, would that make the Werehog the Light Guardian? Ooh, theory fuel. better stop while I'm ahead. As I was saying, the ravenous nature of the Werehog definitely showed a dark corner to the Sonic we know. Not only that, but it also presented this flip side where we witnessed the psychological repercussions of Sonic's transformation. The first cutscene between Werehog and Amy Rose is an excellent example of this. When Amy doesn't recognize that she's talking to Sonic and runs off, Sonic is startlingly disheartened. Being so used to Amy's advances over the years, the realization that Amy no longer recognizes him is the solidifying proof that he's truly no longer himself. And that kind of misery serves as excellent character development for Sonic when he bounces back and becomes more accepting of his new knightly look towards the game's finale. There's just something so cheesy, yet ever so delightfully badass about the Werehog as a whole. Here's hoping we can see Sonic's wild side return in a future title. You know what I mean? Kobe knows what I mean.
Metal Sonic. When you think of the perfect rival to Sonic, you can't do any better than a robotic duplicate that matches the blue blur in both speed and agility. Not to mention a few tricks of his own. Though there have been other robot Sonics in the past, such as Silver Sonic from Sonic 2 and Mecha Sonic from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, none are more well known and loved than Hyper Metal Sonic. First appearing in Sonic CD for the failed console add-on, the Sega Mega CD, Metal Sonic was used to travel back in time and destroy the past of Little Planet and kidnap Sonic's future stalker, Amy Rose. Since its introduction, Metal Sonic's slick design and menacing appearance made a major impact on the series from then on. One of the biggest events of Metal Sonic's history is when he went rogue. Frustrated after the constant defeats at the hand of his organic copy, Metal betrayed Eggman and sought more power by acquiring the data of the heroes and the power of chaos. Metal even gained a new T-1000 ability and assumed a new form, Neo Metal Sonic. Unfortunately, even after becoming the Metal Overlord, it still wasn't enough and was defeated yet again by Team Super Sonic. Metal Sonic is undoubtedly the deadliest badnik Eggman ever built and is obsessed with proving his superiority to Sonic and eliminating him for good. However, he always fails in the end. To this day, Metal Sonic continues to be one of Sonic's most formidable foes.
Amy Rose, Sonic's #1 fan and self-proclaimed girlfriend to the Blue Blur himself. While originally introduced in the Sonic the Hedgehog Shogakukan manga as Nikki's girlfriend who transforms into the speedy hero, Amy Rosie the Rascal Rose captured our hearts in Sonic CD, being the first official damsel in distress for our hero to rescue. While seeking out her destined encounter with Sonic on the fabled Little Planet, she got captured by Metal Sonic and used as bait in Stardust Speedway for Sonic to battle against his robotic duplicate. After Sonic had defeated Robotnik and the Doctor's base began to fall apart around them, Amy was safely carried back to the planet below by Sonic, where she only caught a glimpse of him running away and setting Little Planet free. Her classic design is a sign of the times, bright contrasting colors and a sense of oddness. Green top, orange skirt, and purple sneakers showcased her as the optimistic tomboy as she was originally described. But her modern redesign is more womanly, with a backless dress boldly showcasing her as a more typical girly character from Sonic Adventures onwards, such as having an interest in shopping and fashion. But that did not remove her tomboyish nature. However, in the more recent games, Amy has become a bit more obsessive and far more aggressive, much to Sonic's dismay. Despite her aggressive tendencies, Amy has a kind heart, never gives up, and is one of the most optimistic and cheerful characters. Amy is always full of hope and is always cheering on for the good side of things, such as her arc in Sonic Adventure where she is determined to help an abandoned Flicky find his family, and in its sequel, convince Shadow that Maria would want him to save the planet and the people on it. Unfortunately, her personality has become bossier for comedic effect, but at least Sonic Forces has her as the communication officer and is the real general who kept things organized in the Resistance. Other than her sixth sense to find Sonic anywhere on the planet, Amy's skills include the ability to read tarot cards, which brought her to Little Planet to meet her hero Sonic, and wielding her one-of-a-kind Pico Pico hammer. Though it seems light in her hands, the colorful hammer can wreck even the biggest and deadliest of Eggman's mechs. She also has the capability to turn invisible, which would explain why Sonic is surprised to find her within his personal space. But this is nothing compared to her heart. Amy has the natural ability to connect with people, and there's not a single character who doesn't consider her a friend on some level. She even connected with E-102 Gamma, a robot, to go against his own programming. To most people, they only see Amy as an annoying, obsessive stalker to Sonic. Yes, they may be somewhat true, but that undermines what she is truly capable of and has done for not just Sonic, but the world. Aside from Shadow, Amy is the only other character Eggman is afraid of.
Princess Sally Alicia Acorn, first appearing in the first issue of the Sonic Archie comics, and then shortly appearing as a main character in the Satayam cartoon. This is a character that has left many fans divided. Some love her, whilst others see her as the spawn of Satan. However, there is no denying that Sally is a pretty interesting character, despite her main purpose being a love interest to Sonic. She's smart, brave, and doesn't let her title as a princess define her as a person. Chipmunk. Squirrel? What is she again? Sally is incredibly loyal to her friends and is always willing to sacrifice her needs for the greater good, as seen in the Archie comic issue 230 when she prevented Dr. Eggman from roboticizing all of Mobius, even though it caused Sally to become roboticized herself. Did I also mention that she can really kick some serious ass? Because she does. Sally possesses 2 dual blades that appear from her bracelets, these blades also being able to shapeshift into a standard sword and shield. This made for some pretty interesting fight sequences in the Archie comics, and it was a huge upgrade from before the Genesis wave, where Sally had no weapon and her main role was to command the troops. Sally may have had her ups and downs during her time in the Archie comics, but it's clear to see that she made for a well-developed character, and even made a pretty good match for Sonic with their constant banter, at least in my opinion. It's a shame to see her, along with the rest of the Freedom Fighters, depart from the Sonic series due to the cancellation of the Archie comics, but we'll all be able to look back at another great Sonic character who kept us entertained for many years.
Number 7. Big the Cat. How in the name of chaos did this portly feline get this high on the list? Maybe because we all secretly like this character. I'm not a fan myself, but I can't say I hate the guy. Though physically strong and imposing in stature, Big is a gentle and easygoing though somewhat dim-witted person with a heart of gold. Big first appeared in Sonic Adventure, living a life of solitude and fishing before going off on a quest to track down his best friend Froggy, only to get tangled up in an effort to save the world. We later see him with Amy and Cream as they follow the only clue they have to track down Sonic, who seems to have captured Froggy and chase his brother Chocola. On their mission, they encounter Eggman and other teams as they make their way to Eggman's fleet, find their friends, only to see Metal Sonic in his new form transform with the data he collected from Froggy and Chocola on Chaos. With his team, they and the others help to buy time for Team Sonic to take down Metal Overlord. Finally, in Sonic Chronicles, he proved to be an invaluable ally due to his ability to safely make it through harsh environments with his invulnerability. He has a side quest revolving around finding Froggy's friend Norton, but afterwards ran with the crew to the Twilight Cage to help stop Imperator X. Since then though, Big has been an enigma, though he has found himself in some precarious situations in Sonic Adventure 2 and the magical book world of Sonic and the Secret Rings. It may be because Big is not one for grand adventures, preferring his peaceful and quiet lifestyle in the jungle. However, should his friends be in danger or in need of his aid, Big will not hesitate to help out and protect them in any way he can. This is seen in the Archie Sonic comics where he literally stops Silver Sonic's attack and launches him into the air. And this is a Metal Sonic who's bigger than Big. Big is just a lovable yet loyal idiot who brought some dumb fun to the series, and you can't help but admire his determination to save his friend Froggy.
Knuckles the Echidna, one of the first rivals to Sonic. This marsupial cousin to the Hedgehog does not chuckle about who he is. The last surviving Echidna on the planet, and lives a life of solitude on Angel Island as the guardian of the Master Emerald, the most powerful artifact in the known universe, and is a self-professed treasure hunter. First introduced in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 as an antagonist who messes with Sonic and forces him to take different paths, or just be a dick, he wouldn't get a playable role until the second half of the third game, aptly titled Sonic and Knuckles. Being able to glide, climb walls and break through them made Knuckles a standout character. Though not to be completely overpowered, his jump is not as high as Sonic's. Knuckles' past is an unwritten but tragic one, being with himself his whole life. But his isolated life and unforeseen events did help shape who he is today, a gullible knucklehead who got tricked by Dr. Robotnik. With Sonic and Tails' help, they stopped the Eggman from taking the Emerald and secured the island's place in the sky. Later in the series, his treasure hunting came into use with the Sonic Adventure games, and his robust strength made him the raw power of Team Sonic in Sonic Heroes. Nowadays though, Knuckles is a typical jock who says he can do better than the main hero, but does nothing to back it up. Still, at least he can command a resistance against the Eggman Empire. Also, did you know that his shoes were based on the colours of the Jamaican flag, and that his signature white crest was from the short-lived sponsor deal with Nike? Well, now you do.
Hey there folks, it's James Sullivan here, aka YouTube user Jaimetude, and today I get to talk about my favorite character in the franchise, Tails, the fox. Yeah, I always had an admiration for this character even as a sidekick, and I think part of it might have stemmed from the fact that when I was a kid, getting into the franchise in the first place, that's kind of how I saw this character, is that, okay, Sonic was a slightly older one who was cool, hip, and all that, and Tails was just sort of the kid sidekick that tagged along. But yeah, he had all the same powers of Sonic, and he could fly. So ultimately this makes him a more amazing character. Right there, and that's why I sort of think that Sonic 3 was the high point of the older franchise. But as it continued, it was interesting to see the different directions that the character went into. Yeah, Sonic's the cool one and the hero and all that, but Tails freaking builds everything. On top of being a hero, he's also a tech expert. He can build a plane, a robot, a space station, for crying out loud. You name it, he's done it, and probably done several patents on it as well. I mean, this is one cool Fox character, you gotta admit. It kinda helps also that he's kinda cute! And the ladies agree too. When I wasn't playing the games, I was also reading the comics and watching the cartoons, and after a sad AM, I think there was a point where Tails was getting all the new girls. Think about it. We all know that Sega doesn't do shippings with their characters anymore, so Sonic, he had Sally, and may or may not have had Amy, there's some sort of hinting there. Tails got shipped with so many different characters over the years, and even though most of them did not end very well, that's saying something. The chicks dig Tails. And so do I, because he makes a nice plushie.
Number 4. Blaze the Cat, the pyrokinetic princess from another dimension. Out of all the Sonic characters in the universe, Blaze is my favourite and is for many other fans. Like Sega Scourge with Emeril, it's hard to put into words why not only I like, but adore this fiery feline. But if you had to twist my arm, it would be because she encompasses all the best traits of the other female characters, such as Rouge's independence, Tikal's servitude, Amy's passion, and Sally's downplay of her royalty. Plus, she has one of the coolest powers seen in the franchise, pyrokinesis, able to summon and have control over fire. As a princess hailing from what fans dubbed the Soul Dimension, or the Soul Zone according to Archie Comics, she's the guardian of the Soul Emeralds, a set of emeralds akin to the Chaos Emeralds, a role she takes seriously and solely takes responsibility for whatever happens to them. This is evident in Sonic Rush when Eggman and Eggman Nega invades, takes the Soul Emeralds and sends her to the Chaos Dimension. Here she meets Cream, who instantly wants to be her friend, drags her home and insists she guides her through this new world. While she does eventually retrieve the emeralds she vowed to protect, Blaze opens up to Cream, actually smiling and considers her a friend, all the while the rift in space-time increases, merging their two worlds. When Sonic and Blaze eventually meet, tensions were high, so they fought. After the battle, she gained the last of the Soul Emeralds. However, Blaze was surprised that the power did not return her to her own world. As she was contemplating this, Eggman and Eggman Nega appeared in a giant mech named the Egg Salamander. Blaze fought them, but they easily defeated her and drained the power of the Soul Emeralds. Blaze was surprised when Sonic showed up and told her that the true power of the Chaos Emeralds and the Soul Emeralds came from the people's hearts and their connections to each other, encouraging her to open up to others and recognize the friends she made on her journey. Blaze began to realize the true power of the Som Emeralds, recharging them, and for the first time used her power to turn into Burning Blaze. In her new form, she and Supersonic successfully stopped Eggman and Eggman from taking over the universe, and at the same time repairing the tear in the space-time continuum and separating their two worlds. Afterwards, she and Sonic promise to see each other again, say their goodbyes, and as they shake hands, being torn apart by their respective dimensions, having been returned to normal. No joke, after everything that happened and the build-up to Sonic and Blaze's friendship, I honestly expected them to hug. How naive my 15-year-old mind was. It would be some time before the sequel, Sonic Rush Adventure, when Sonic and Tails are whisked up to the Soul Dimension and discovered by a spunky raccoon named Marine. They, and we as the player, don't realise this until Blaze's reintroduction, on their own quest to stop the robot pirates, Captain Whiskers and Johnny from stealing the Jewel Scepter, which controls the geological activity of Blaze's world and is the key to unleashing the power of the stars. Once the pirates were destroyed and saving Marine, Sonic and Blaze soon discovered that the Eggmen were at it again and stole the scepter and to split the world apart. Sonic and Blaze assumed their super forms, and with a little help from a theorized hydrokinetic powered Marine, our heroes destroy the Egg Wizard and return the Jewel Scepter to its rightful place. Sonic and Tails travel back to their own dimension after a tearful goodbye from Marine, with Blaze contemplating the reason for their dimensional hopping adventures. Since then, Blaze has been hopping between dimensions to celebrate Sonic's birthday and to help out with the cleanup after the war against Eggman's uprising. And no, I haven't forgot about her role in Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, I just don't acknowledge it. Changing her backstory to that of an orphan in the near future was just ludicrous. Although I will say having Silver be the only one to accept her despite her powers over fire was a nice idea. It showcases not only how much he relies on her, but her seeing him as a naive younger brother. But that does raise a question why no one else sees or acknowledges Blaze's presence. Maybe because she wasn't there to begin with, and was conjured up by Silver's psychic mind as a guardian angel? Or not, because it's no longer part of the main timeline. Plus there was a time she channeled the persona of Sir Percival, but considering it was a storybook game, we don't really count it. Though her portrayal as a knight of valor was well and truly spectacular. I don't care what you say, I enjoy Black Knight's story. Blaze is a rare character that ticks all the right boxes for our likable character. She goes through an arc from being stoic but stubborn in her ways, not wanting or needing help from those she has befriended. It's thanks to Cream's and Sonic's selfless, innocent and carefree attitudes towards her that she even opens up. And even when being badgered by Marine's constant talking and overdramatic nature, she learned to adapt to people's quirks and sometimes risk-filled tendencies. I hate to go on about this, but the relationship between Sonic and Blaze is one of a kind. Pure opposites in nature but need each other to survive. Blaze is the stationary flame who burns with purpose. Sonic is the wind that blows free, going wherever it wants. Without the other, Blaze will not glow brighter, and Sonic will just continue through life, not carrying the flame to new pastures. Sorry if that was a bit poetic, but I just love the Sonic shipping, and to me, Blaze is one of, if not the best female Sonic character of all time.
Silver the Hedgehog. Probably one of the most underrated characters in the franchise. Originally appearing in Sonic 06 and following close after in Sonic Rivals, Silver has been an antagonist and adversary of Sonic's. Silver has the ability to levitate objects, including himself, with telekinesis, lifting things like boxes, cars, and pretty much anything around him to use against his enemies. 200 years in the future from Sonic's current timeline, Silver's time seems to always be in chaos or destroyed. Trying to save the future of the world as he knows it, Silver travels back to Sonic's world from time to time to prevent its destruction. While in 06 he was tricked into believing that Sonic was the cause of the end of the world and had to deal with his moral values while trying to kill Sonic, Silver has become a valuable adversary to Sonic, and even took part as a Resistance member when Sonic was believed to be dead in Sonic Forces. Overall, he may be a little bit gullible at times and made some mistakes in the past, but now will do whatever it takes to save his friends, the world, and the future. Good luck, Silver.
Number 2 is Shadow the Hedgehog, and I'm not even shocked to see him here. He's been a fan favorite for years, and for some people he's actually more loved than Sonic the Hedgehog himself. Shadow started off as just a rival in Adventure 2, and he's moved on so much since then. He's accepted Maria's death, He's forgiven the government and actually works for the government now, but Shadow actually has his downsides too. Shadow is the one who freed Mephiles. Mephiles is the one that took Shadow's form, and Shadow has done dark things before. It was Shadow's fault that the black aliens came to Earth, but Shadow also dealt with the black aliens. It's Shadow's fault that Infinite was created because Shadow beat up Infinite and called him weak. But Shadow also helped deal with Infinite. Yeah, Shadow has a lot of flaws, but I think that's really why people like him. He's basically the exact opposite of Sonic. Sonic is happy, cheery, and has an optimistic attitude. Meanwhile, Shadow is more dark, depressing, and has a more cynical attitude. I can understand why people like him, and I think he definitely deserves his spot at number 2.
Number 1. Sonic the Hedgehog. Be honest, you were all expected him to be number 1. Who else but the Blue Blur would take the top spot in this month-long countdown? During the initial voting, it was a toss-up between Sonic, Silver, and Shadow, but in the end, Sonic blasted ahead and is the best Sonic character. And who could blame him? A Sonic game without Sonic is not a Sonic game. This cool dude basically made mine and many other childhoods fun, not just in games but in comics and cartoons. From my own experience, Sonic the Hedgehog was the first video game I ever played, and after discovering the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, I have been enamored with the franchise since. At time of writing, it's hard to put into words why I like Sonic so much. Even if you did twist my arm, it would be nothing but fanboy gushing about Sonic's feats and trash talking quotes at Eggman's expense. Like when Sonic kept calling Robotnik Eggman, so he just decided to take the nickname only for Sonic to twist that name around into Egghead and the like. Or when he first learned about Chaos Control and as a last ditch effort, he used a fake emerald with similar wavelengths and properties as a real emerald to warp out of an exploding capsule. Or how about the time in the world of Arabian Nights, after his battle against the transformed Eraser Jin, used his lamp to fire magic to request 3 wishes against Eraser's will. So badass. And then there's the infamous line, "No copyright law in the universe is going to stop me!" Then there are his super forms. Yes, forms, plural. Super Sonic is the trump card we all know and love, powered by the 7 Chaos Emeralds. The overpowered Hyper Sonic in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Dark Sonic in Sonic X. Dark Spine Sonic from Sonic and the Secret Rings, fueled by the world rings of rage, hatred, and sadness. The Werehog in Unleashed. Excalibur Sonic and Black Knight, who is in fact King Arthur. And that's just the games. That's not counting the various forms he acquired in other media. As a character, Sonic is cool, caring, and overly cocky, jumping into dire situations without even thinking. But as long as his friends are safe, the world is saved, and he looks awesome while doing it, then it was all worth it. Even if he himself caused the trouble in the first place. Sonic is such a cool character, and no matter which version you prefer, be it the silent and heroic classic Sonic, the cocky and caring modern Sonic, or even the overconfident yet zealous Boom Sonic, this radical hedgehog with an attitude is and forever will be a true gaming icon.